Here is the Business Pharmacy, brought to you by Dell Technologies, who are helping me do this every single Wednesday at 12 o'clock to help you with your businesses. And today, the subject is you can ask me anything. That's the subject today. Today is your session. This is for you to ask questions, and I am really interested about what it is about us women who don't and why we don't ask enough questions. So, on my entrepreneurial journey, as you can imagine, I've helped thousands and thousands and tens of thousands probably of businesses. And I love hearing where they get stuck. That's like one of my, I don't know, it's like a weird thing I have. I absolutely love it. I think about it at night. I like to mull over people's questions, and it's my favorite thing to do. So over the next hour, I'm going to try and answer as many questions as possible to help you guys flourish. And thank you, Dell, as ever, for helping me do this. Going to put on my Dr. Tucker stethoscope. Anyone want, anyone in a sort of niche business of, I don't know, glittering up stethoscopes? I'm quite interested. And I'm going to be prescribing you all my prescription here. So anybody who asks me a question, you will be sent one of these with my remedy, my recommendation on how we can get over whatever you're asking me. Now, a few of you have already asked some questions, and I'm going to tell you how I actually get these questions. So in a moment, but today, definitely what I know is, apart from the live questions that are going to be coming in here, I want to tackle, and some of the questions that come in, how to find your customers. That's one of the things that we're going to be covering. Top tips on pricing your work. Huge subject there, isn't it? A massive subject. And bravery in business. When to say no and when you shouldn't hold back, which is always an interesting one that comes about, and lots more. So I want to know, what would you like me to cover today? Today is your session. There are no kids hopefully coming in. No one's interrupting you. This is for you. And remember, every silly question, if you think it's silly, I want you to ask it, because this is a safe environment for us absolutely to ask what we need to ask. Now, when we talk about that, asking what we need to ask, University of Cambridge published a study back in 2017, and you won't believe this, okay? So they observed 250 events at 35 academic institutions across 10 countries. Right, so ultimately, that's quite a lot. Okay, so we know that the findings, whatever they're going to say, is true. And they found that women were 2.5 times less likely to ask a question in an academic event than men. And the audience that they did this with was split evenly between men and women. And this is just fascinating. And it was a niche area, but it actually represents the wider issue. And maybe, because when I read this, I thought, well, is that just because women are more confident? They're asking less questions because they freaking know the answer. And the point is, no. No is the answer to that. Because basically, women aren't asking questions generally, not because they feel totally confident. Completely the opposite. They don't feel clever enough. Number one, they can't work up the nerve to ask a question. This is why this is such a safe place for you to ask a question. They're worried that they've misunderstood the content. So guess what? They're going to look silly. And that the person that they're going to ask is too important or too intimidating to ask. And those are the 4 reasons that women don't ask. 2.5 times less likely to ask a question than a man. I'd love you to put your hand up if you've stopped yourself asking a question because of one of those 4 reasons. Let's just admit it. I'm first. Definitely that has happened to me. Self-doubting, especially with dyslexia. I bizarrely hear things differently, and I'm always worried that I've misinterpreted something. So have you done that? Put your hands up if you as a woman have not asked a question. And basically, if you're watching on IGTV catch up right now, if you fast forward to 40 minutes, those of us who are live, we'll get to this. At the end of this session, I am going to give you some of my hacks on overcoming the blockers. Let's go to a few comments. Rebecca Rickard Design, tips for applying or not on the high street. Okay, let's get to that. Anna Martin Media, where do you get endless energy from? I get it from you. Are you joking me? I come on this and I'm just so happy to see you all. Birdhouse Tea Company, I struggle to make decisions from a business perspective and overruled by an emotional... actually, I'm going to get to this, actually. This is a really interesting question. Overruled by an emotional perspective. I've got this. Let me just think about that. I'm going to come back to this. Let's just, before we carry on, just check in what has been happening in the world since we last caught up on Wednesday. There is a big one. Hey, 8th of March, the children went back. I said on stories today, Harry had just quite a mixed emotion about it. Definitely, I think there was relief. I'm sure you've all experienced that. I felt personally, I've missed him. I was quite honest on my Sunday post about that. I've definitely missed my tea buddy. And I know that my niece shed quite a few tears when she came back from school. I shared openly that so did Harry on Monday, as a 16-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl, both shed tears. So I'm sure that lots of you might be in exactly the same situation where your little ones were quite overwhelmed, and your big ones. And actually, I've also got some people coming back because a few of my team members, not a lot, but a few of them were on furlough, and they've now come back into the business. And it was a way that I could support the mums on the team because, you know, I really wanted to ask that question, you know, how are their families doing? How are they juggling it? How are they juggling things with their partners? And some asked if they could be furloughed or made part-time to be able to cope with the demands of being a teacher and a working mother. And I'm just really, you know, ultimately the experience we were a few women down hours, but we coped, we pulled together, and they're now raring to go. They're back. I really hope that this experience is never repeated again, because there is something that happens when you're an energetic young business and you're moving fast, and people, it's a little bit like what people feel in maternity leave. I think a lot of people have been feeling on furlough that same thing. They step out the business and then they're sort of not part of the day to day, and you've got that sort of horrible emotions that can go on. Now, we tried to make sure that anyone that was furloughed didn't feel that way, felt very, very much part of the team when they're just taking this little break. So we're super happy, and I'm sure lots of you who employ people might be bringing people back. And actually, talking about women, this is very timely because the Minister for Women and Equalities, Elizabeth Truss, MP, has called for flexible working practices to be normalised. And I'm interested. How do you all feel about that? You know, as an employee, how do you feel about that? As a boss, as a woman, is this a good thing? Because ultimately, I'm positive that this is going to give many more opportunities for women. It's going to maybe stop employment just being around the cities. And if we can see that national shift in flexibility, firstly, I know Mother Pucker would be incredibly excited because that has been her huge campaign. But I also think it's going to boost employment. And so it's going to be very interesting. It stops the necessity potentially of having to have people that will come to the office. You can start to employ people who might be on the other side of the country. And it's something very interesting for Holly&Co. You know, I definitely think that, you know, I remember telling you in March last year, we made Holly&Co the enrichment era, where we became a working from home company, even though I just pimped up our offices and it was all lovely. we stopped it becoming a 9-to-5 in an office type business. And I think it's one of the best things that I've ever done. I've got some other comments here. Actually, I've got a couple of questions. Should we jump into a couple of questions? Here we are. Rebecca Ricardo, Birdhouse Tea Company. I struggle to make decisions from a business perspective, overruled by an emotional perspective. I feel this is very female thing to do and sometimes can be a hindrance. You know what? I absolutely get what you mean. You're feeling that you're too emotional, and actually, in a way, let's just boil it down, is your feminine sort of what's deemed as a feminine trait, your emotions dulling what's seen as a male trait, your sort of business acumen, business skills, your ability to run a successful, profitable company. Now, I would firstly say no, but you do have to have your emotions in check. So I think emotions are fantastic for business. Holly&Co and Not on the High Street, described by a couple of grey men at Not on the High Street, such an emotional business. It's just all over the place. It just feels so emotional. Now, I look back, I took that at the time to exactly like you're saying, Birdhouse Tea Company, to say, is that my feminine quality ruining the mechanics of this business? Oh, no, not at all. Actually, it was an amazing thing that these businesses that I have built are emotional. What is it to be emotional? You're alive, you're connected, you're listening. And as long as you have got your emotions in check, we're not talking about, and sometimes when we talk about emotions, look how I'm even saying it, in check. Of course, we know we can't be all over the place with our emotions when we run a business. But what we can do is allow those emotions to be our intuitions, allow those emotions to be the way that we're going to market our product, because funny enough, maybe you are your customer. So actually what you feel, maybe your customers will feel. So I really think that this is not something that hinders you, but potentially if you're talking about maybe some of the more negative emotions, I'm worried about doing this. I have imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I have no confidence. I'm not asking the questions. Now that is hindering your business, because actually you're not giving your business your full throttle. You're pulling yourself back. And remember what I say, a founder is the Duracell battery of your company. You are what keeps it going. So I just want to ask you, that Birdhouse Tea Company, is it the positive emotions that you're feeling that are holding you back, or is it the negative ones? And actually do know that emotions and emotional commerce, emotional marketing, I would say is the future. Right, we've got another question before I get on to other ones. At C. Barris, Barnes, oh my gosh. My dyslexia, I can't bear it sometimes. I have so many side hustle ideas. One that would be my actual idea job, but I just get so overwhelmed with how to make a start. Barents, that's it. C. Barents, thank you. Okay. Well, one of the things I would say is it's something I'm tackling in my book. Do what you love what you do. Because ideas are one thing, and what I talk about in the book is how to take that idea, know which one you should stick with, know which one you should drive through with, and know which ones that you should let go with love. That's a term I learnt many years ago. Let go with love. It's a nice term when you love an idea potentially, but it just needs to leave. Because whatever way you look at it, it's just not going to make money. It's not going to do you the world of good. So you just need to let it go with love. So I would say I would direct you to pre-order my book. But for now, what I would look at is I would start to just do that simple thing of pros and cons. I would start to look at your ideas. Have you ever I believe in Post-it notes, recycled Post-it notes, and I would put them up all on the wall. And I would start to actually then have a couple of other Post-it notes. What is the most commercial idea? What idea do I love the most? You know, is there a difference there? Does one of your ideas you think is more commercial, but the other one is your heartstrings are pulling you towards it? And I would start to write these ideas out. I start to create some buckets, and I start to put your ideas through. And then I would really definitely concentrate on the commercial businesses. You know, let's not underestimate, do what you love what you do, and it needs to make money. It has to make money, or what you love doing will stop very, very quickly. So I think that you need to think about that commerciality, and then maybe take those ideas and break those down into, you know, what has the biggest opportunity in terms of customers? What is the easiest to do? What is what could I afford to do? And I think until you start to question those ideas, you know, lots of founders say an idea is easy. You know, we can all come up with ideas. How many ideas have you come up with today, for instance? I've been sitting here doing my head in with the amount that's been coming through. I had to stop myself with Harriet having another hour just talking about all the things that I wanted to do. And that is where you need to be quite disciplined. So get your ideas into some sort of working order, understand it. And actually, you know what? Sometimes it's about then doing it. Not just keep endlessly coming up with more ideas. How about committing to something? And I think that might help you. Right. Today, we're saying, ask me anything. There's a couple of questions. And, you know, actually every week I get hundreds of questions. And I also get a lot of people asking me for a cup of tea and a chat. And you know what? That would be my biggest joy in the world. But I'm just trying to find how I can invent more hours in the day. If anyone's got the secret formula, please let me know, because I literally couldn't, even if I wanted to, do that on an individual basis. But what I do is, if you ask a question today that I don't get to answer, we save them and then we will answer them. So I just wanted to let you know. And also something I wanted to tell you about was, I was just talking to Sahar Hashimi just a few moments ago, actually, about an idea she's got. Very exciting. And I'm going to tell you more about that in the coming months. But she just spoke about the amount of times that she's contacted as well. And I want to, and I contact people to ask questions. Maybe what we should do is refrain from saying we would love a coffee or we would love, you know, some time. Okay. And I'm thinking about the other people, the people that you are going out to. And I want to remind you to potentially pinpoint your request down to 3 things. You know, either you want to acquire some knowledge, either you want to eliminate confusion, or you want to solve a problem, right? So your question, or the thing that you say nicely to somebody that you might be contacting in an industry, you know, I'd love a chat. Maybe what you should actually do is reframe that conversation from making it so broad into something specific. I really, you know, you're amazing in this industry and you're someone that I admire. I've got a problem at the moment. I have a supplier who is looking to double their cost charges to me, their wholesale charges to me. Have you ever experienced this problem? And if so, what would be a tip to overcome it? Now, I would say to you, you will get you'll have much bigger chance of someone answering that question than trying to find diary time in their diary if they're very, very busy. And I actually think that that's something that you should do. Think about, what do you need from that tea or coffee or chat? Do you need to acquire knowledge? Do you need to eliminate confusion? Or do you need to ask a question because you need to solve a problem? And then go specific, because if that person's then lying in bed, for instance, doing what you shouldn't do and looking at all their DMs, it could just be, you'll just get a very, very quick answer. Yeah, I had this problem before, except X, Y, and Z. It's actually illegal. Look at this. I don't know. I've just made that all up to try and actually give you a live example. Now, we are now going to kick off because I've actually got some wonderful people joining me today. We've got Emma, founder of The Makers, Mark, who's going to be joining me and asking me a question. And gosh, I'm looking forward to seeing her. She's an active member of the Holly&Co Facebook community. And it's going to be lovely to see her in person.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right, thanks.
Well, it's lovely to see you. Before we start, Emma, tell me a little bit about your business.
Okay, so I'm a needlepoint designer.
Oh, look at they're
There's
so good.
lots to show. It's very show and tell. So I'm a needlepoint designer, and I design and make craft kits. There's another
Look
one.
at this.
This was made with the Fortune Teller Fish Company, actually, which was mad. I think they thought I was completely balmy when I contacted them.
Absolutely brilliant. The balmier, the better.
And they go out. All the big kits go out in these lovely postal tubes, and you get your printed canvas, you get instructions, you get a little chart, and all the wool gets wrapped up in an eco biodegradable bag as well. And then sell a few little notions. So I sell things like needle minders, magnetic needle minders, and cute little scissors and things like that as well.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that you're showing everyone what you do. Now, listen, Emma, you've got a question for me today.
Yeah, so I only launched in November 2019. And so I had these glorious plans, like so many of us did for last year. And a lot of those were around in-person events because I just need to find my audience. And so I'm struggling to find my audience when a lot of that in my head was locked into in-person events and saying, look at this, and luring people over with all the things that I have. And so I feel like I'm shouting into the void a little bit.
Yeah, I really understand that. And I think that's, you know, one of the good things, and I'm going to try and think about what the answer to this question is, but one of the great things is whatever it is and whatever you do, your business now will be stronger than it ever was in 2019, when it was going to just be reliant on one way of doing something. You know, I think that's what we're going to find in lockdown, is a lot of people have learnt a lot of skills that they wouldn't necessarily, you know, if you were just going to events, we wouldn't be having this conversation. True. And so ultimately, whatever we're talking about here will strengthen your business. Bless you, by the way. And I'm going to try and answer it. So thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for being such an active member of the Facebook community. It's like glory. Oh, good. I'm so pleased. Take care. Lots of love. Bye. 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 Right, let's talk about this. So Emma's just, because remember, I've missed the little X in my thing, so I can't take people off. But one of the things that we're looking at Holly&Co, and so, you know, we always try and find our audience, don't we? And we could have had a notion on how to do it. Research, right? So research is the top thing that you have to do. And like what Emma's saying, it might be different. You know, we have notions on who our customer is, don't we? We have sort of, you know, we think that, you know, your customer is X, Y, and Z, but potentially it's not. And you'll never know that unless you do research. And if you actually think about it, you know, how many women have bought men's shaving cream to shave your legs, right? Because if you think about it, they have never targeted you, but you happen to be their consumer. Now, that is something that I would love you just to think about, shaving legs. So just remember this little point in this IGTV, shaving legs. Do you think that your customer is one thing and actually it's something else? So one of the things that you can actually do is you can survey people about who buys your product. You can look at insights from your social media and your emails that you send out. You might actually go to events that you think, when the events come, you know, launches again, you might go to events where you think that your customer is, and then, and I say stalking in a nice way, you can start to do what I call business stalking, which is really understanding who those people are by observing them, understanding their behaviors. And so one of the things I would say to do is there's lots of tools out there. You've got on Instagram, can't you? You can do the stickers, you can ask polls, you can ask questions. And actually people really like to engage in it. Now, I wouldn't say that that is your be all and end all. You know, I have 105,000 followers. If 10 people answered a question, I'm not going to base Holly&Co's business strategy on such a small amount of people. But each time I get information, I sort of store it. The other thing I would say is that there's a great tool called SurveyMonkey. I'm wondering if actually, Emma, you've asked people who have bought your products other questions about themselves? So this is when I talk about the sort of business stalking. Is that actually someone, let's say, that is buying your cushions and buying your sewing kits and craft kits, if you actually ask them what else they did? So are you part of any community? What charities do you support? Where else do you shop? All of these things, when you ask those questions, suddenly you can start to build up a picture of who that person is. Now, okay, so gosh, isn't that amazing? 80% of my customers support charities. Now, I might need to maybe have a charity side to my business. Who could I link to that has another audience that might actually like to do some sort of collaboration? So do you see what I'm trying to say? That actually knowing your customer, 10 customers lifestyle, would actually give you maybe 10 pieces of information per person to start to build up a picture of then where could you get, and it's this Facebook term, you know, like audiences. So where could you go to, as I just mentioned about the charity, how could you then now approach someone for that audience? Because you know that probably there's a likelihood that that group of people would probably like your product. So I really hope I've answered a question there. And it's a really interesting one, but do not think that you don't have to do research. We all have to ask questions. Ask, ask, ask away. You will learn so much. And again, why don't we women ask? Just ask the question. The worst that can happen is that they won't answer you. That is the worst that can happen. And also, Emma bravely admitted that her confidence also to us has been knocked over the last 12 months. And that is another thing that I'm experiencing. Many of you have said that your confidence has been knocked, and I get it. It's been very hard to keep bouncing back, hasn't it? All the time bouncing back. But I want this experience not to be a setback. And I want this experience to be, as I just said to Emma, whatever she learns here, and if I've hopefully helped her, that is actually strengthening her business. So I would love, it reminds me of a quote actually, the only way out is through. And to get through anything, you must first accept the truth. So, you know, basically, ultimately, it is accepting, isn't it? Whatever's happened is accepting that we have to learn from this experience. It's about not dwelling on it. And it's about starting to dream again about what that ultimately could become. And I think this is really, really important, that we don't get stuck in the setback that we have. As I said yesterday, I think it was, we're women of action. Let's learn from the experience. Let's not dwell on the experience, because it's a founder's journey. If we have setbacks, we learn from them and we grow from them. That's it. That is the repetitive journey of a female founder. Amy Gardner, artist. Feminine intuition and sensitivity is our superpower. Amy Swan, emotions are the anchor for connection. How brilliant. And by the way, Maker Marks, there is the Maker's Mark. It's so much love for you, Emma, honestly. And, you know, so many people are going through a difficult time at the moment. Exactly as you say, you know, you've lost some confidence. You're trying to get that sort of new audience. You're trying to have all of those positive emotions, but when we're set back in our confidence, it can be very, very difficult. Little Homes Designs 1. When do I know when it's the right time to quit my day job? Well, that is why a P&L, that is why a spreadsheet, that is why knowing our numbers is so important. Because ultimately what we're saying is, when do I know that I don't need the income of my day job to actually go forth in my dream? And so if we boil that down to the fact that you will then need to know your numbers, you will need to know that magic place. And I was actually speaking to a couple of small businesses who exactly want to do that. And I said, well, you have your spreadsheet. Let's just highlight the month in which you start to bring in income that might not be quite as much as your day job. And again, you have to know, how much do you need to live on? So is it that your day job gives you X, but you don't need that much to live on? Is that, are you prepared just to take a salary cut? So you need to understand, what is my baseline? So if my baseline is X, right, I need to know that this business for a few months has given me X. And then it's your appetite for risk. Are you going to need your side hustle at the moment to prove to you for 12 months that it has given you your baseline of money before you quit? Or are you just going to go for it? 1 month, it hits that magic number and there's your resignation and the P45s in the post and you're out of the door. So I think it's super, super important. Understand, are you prepared to take a pay cut to work for yourself? Can you take a pay cut to work for yourself? If you can, work out what that magic amount of money is, and then that is where your side hustle, it has to hit that number. Because I would caution you to just wish and hope that it will hit that number. I think it needs to prove to you, guess what, mummy, I'm going to be good for you. I'm a safe pair of hands. Jump on board. That's what your side hustle needs to tell you. So I hope that helps you. Rachel Caparco, what advice would you give someone who is having doubt about their product and if it's worthy of someone buying it? You know what I'm going to say, Rachel? Have you asked the question? Because that's all you need to do. You need to ask away. Put it on stories, have a poll. If you don't want to be that public, use your DMs. Do you mind if I ask you a question? I know that you contacted me. That's such a lovely thing that you've said. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Here is a couple of images of a product that I've got coming out. What do you honestly think? Would you buy this? This is a really, really safe way. And this community, you know, the Facebook community is such a safe group of people. I understand doubt. No one has a crystal ball when it comes to product creation, do we? We can learn, we can look at what's happening out there in the market, we can understand what things are potentially doing well because you keep seeing it being promoted. You can sort of understand these influences, but ultimately we all get very nervous when launching product because you're slightly giving a bit of your soul out to the world and you don't know what's going to stick. So just know, number one, that is part and parcel of this world that you have chosen. You'll never get someone saying, that's a bestseller, you should launch that. There isn't such a thing. And join me, for those who create product, in reassuring Rachel that there isn't such a thing as a magic formula. You know, don't go chasing that bullet because the silver bullet there, because there isn't one. But what you can do is research. What you can do is ask questions. You can get definitely a sense. Also, do you have one of those friends who loves you the most, but can be very, very honest about you and honest about what you do? Do you have those people around you? If so, ask them, because they are not going to want to leave you vulnerable and let you go out there with something that they don't believe in. From my mother's garden, this is a question: organic growth versus investment. Right, I would say all depends on your appetite to turn left or right. Do you remember what I always say? Have you worked out where you want to go from my mother's garden in the future? Have you looked at, is this a business that you want to sell? Or is this a business that you would like to retire in? Is this a business that you have high hopes to have huge growth and sales from? Or is this a business that you would like to take dividends each year or take a salary from? Unless you ask those questions, always look to the end of your journey. Ask those questions. Once you've answered those questions, it's going to be obvious whether it's organic growth or investment, because ultimately investment allows you to know that you can sell at the end. That's what they would want with you. Whereas organic growth would never give you those pressures of having to meet targets, having to grow bigger, because actually you're quite happy that it's going to pay you that salary. And for you, it is that journey that you're looking for. I've got the Super Food Bowl joining me to ask me another question. And I'm so looking forward to to this, because actually I'd love to hear more about what you do.
Hello.
Hello, nice to see you. Tell us what you do.
Okay, my name's Amy and I own the Superfood Bowl. So we're a plant-based meal prep company, but we focus on women's health and wellness through feeding our bodies with the right food. A lot of my customers are really busy with children or businesses, so they don't always have time to feed themselves right, but ultimately you're never going to get the best out of yourself if you don't feed your body right. So that's what we focus on.
Oh, fantastic. Thank goodness you're doing that for all of us. And tell me, this is brilliant. Tell me what your question is.
So I need some advice on how to price my product, because I think I'm struggling with some limiting beliefs about what it's worth. So I know on paper, like the bottom line, what I need to charge to cover the costs. But sometimes I get a little bit, I doubt myself if I can just add that little bit more and make a profit. It almost feels like I shouldn't be making a large profit. And why would someone pay me for my service? It's just me. So I don't know how to go about that, or where to start with how much you can add on to that bottom line to make a profit.
Absolutely. I'm going to try and answer this. I'm telling you now, you are not alone. This is one of those things that, you know, I do think is quite female in a way. I've just been speaking to somebody else this morning who literally started saying, I just don't even know if I should charge for this. And then I went, how are you going to live? And she's like, yeah. I know what you mean. And you're like, this is your business, of course you need to charge for it. So I'm going to now definitely, Amy, I'm going to try and answer this, and I really hope what I say helps you. And thank you though, before anything, for creating a brilliant brand that is doing good for all of us, that's so part of the future, and 100% you should be making money. If you don't make a profit and make this work, it means that your business won't succeed. And so that's what we've always got to have in our mind, that this isn't, you know, we can all be feminine and want to care and help people, and that can be the quality of your company, but ultimately you only exist if you make money. And we've got to start owning that a little bit. So I'm going to try and answer your question, but bless you and thank you so much for appearing here.
Thank you.
Take care. You know, this is just unbelievable when we think about how many times I could be writing out this prescription about when people don't feel that they could be charging the right amount for their product. And I do think that it's basically limited beliefs. I think that that is one of the main barriers, you know, and actually I think what's great here is that Amy almost said that out loud. She owned the fact that actually that gets involved when she's doing quite a business transaction. You know, you can imagine it is a business transaction. So let's think about this. When it comes to pricing your products, there's a few golden rules to follow. Firstly, and as Amy said, it's how much does it actually cost you to make it? Now, this is something that you, this community has issues with. And you know why? You don't know how necessarily to price your time. And I think that you feel that you shouldn't be pricing your time, that almost what you can tend to do is do your costs, and then you add an amount, you double it, you triple it, whatever it is. But you haven't actually worked out how much time of yours it took to put in there. And when you do it, by the way, it normally busts your numbers. And so actually what you tend to do is go, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to earn that. I'll just take that bit away. Oh, and then that's a better retail price. So one of the things I want you to look at is, firstly, 100% you need to understand exactly what it costs you to make your product, your service, your kitchen time, your studio time, your office time, your materials. I then want you to make sure that you have done a calculation, which is, what is the salary, for instance, that you would like to earn? I've covered this before. You can't go and earn the top salary of the country and then expect your product to be able to handle your hourly cost, right? So what is that salary that you are happy to earn? And it could be a reduction from what you used to earn, etc., etc. And I could talk about this for hours, by the way. So I'm trying to be quite quick so I can get to other questions. I want you to look at that. I then want you to work out what you cost per hour. and I want you to be honest with how long it takes you to create that product. It could take you 10 minutes, it could take you 1 hour, all these sorts of things, and I want you to bake it in. And then I want you to understand, you know, from that number that you created, that salary, that actually does cover your living costs, that you can live off that salary. That's just another thing I want to say. What are your competitors charging? So now you slightly know the real cost, okay? And you might be wincing, going, oh my gosh. Now I want you to look at competitors, and I want you to analyze that number compared to their number, and what your added value is. So ultimately, you've got a cost price with your time. You now know what your competitors are slightly charging. Okay, so there's going to be a difference there, okay, because that is the multiples that they're charging. And then I want you to understand your USP. What makes you incredible? It could be that you're going to charge double what your competitors charge, because that's actually going to be one of your unique selling points, that you are amazing at what you do, that you are a trained nutritionalist, that you've had 20 years of experience, that etc., and actually your product is then thus premium. Or it is that you actually get confidence that the USP that you're providing allows you to maybe sell your product slightly cheaper than your competitor. And so those are the three things I want you to look at: your cost, including your time. Be honest with yourself. There is no point in charging an amount of money that basically makes you lose money. There's no point in starting a business that cannot support you in your future growth of running this business for the next decade. Then you're going to look at your competitors, you're going to understand that difference, but you're going to understand that you have a USP. And if you don't have a USP, get a USP, because that USP can either have you charge under, or it can have you double, as I say, the price. And that is the confidence that you need to have. And a great podcast for you to listen to is Sophie Salou, founder of Grain or Not, and the way that she is a wood carver. She carves beautiful spoons, beautiful vases, etc. The amount of people that have said, oh, I can do that, I can do that. And she goes, that's fine if you can do it, but my products, this wooden spoon costs X. So it's a really great one for you to listen to. Right, we've got MoMA London. For me, perseverance and commitment to believe in myself was key. I can do this, and I will. Bad days will be outweighed by the good days. And it's so lovely, by the way. I really agree with that. And I just recorded a podcast yesterday. I can't wait to release who it's with. And it is about that absolute vision of perseverance and commitment. So many lovely communities connecting right here, by the way. You're all supporting. I can see it all happening right now. You're supporting each other. You're putting your hands up saying, I'll give feedback on product. And also the superfood bowl question. Everyone is loving it, because I knew they would, and I knew you would, because this is a problem that a lot of people have, and it sounds like you would all love more on pricing. As I said, I could do hours on this, and so I might actually do a whole IGTV on pricing products. So I want you now, if you'd like me to do one, DM me specifically what you want me to cover in pricing products, okay? What are the questions you've never felt that you could ask? And I'm going to answer them and help you. I've got a question here from the community. Beautiful Grays would love to know if you think markets that have struggled during lockdown will pick back up. I make bespoke tutus, but during lockdown, people just aren't buying dressing up clothes. Okay, couple of things there. Yes, I do think that things will come back, because I think we are gagging to get out. I think that we cannot wait. There's nothing more human than a market, is there? The experience you get walking around, tasting, touching, speaking, having those little nibbles, which I have so many of when I go around markets. I think that we're going to actually see such a resurgence of just being let out. So I don't think you should fear. The other thing I would say is, it's what I actually said earlier. Take the lesson that maybe that's what your lesson is during lockdown. People were not buying dressing up clothes in this experience. What if that ever happened again? sorry to say that, but what if it did? These lessons, never let them just be lost. No lesson that you've learned in your business during this period of time, don't let it be lost. I know that it sounds like when you open back up, that will just be the answer. And you can sort of forget that, because that was just during the COVID pandemic. I would say that that is a missed opportunity. Even though you don't want to deal with it, even though you want to be an ostrich and stick your head in the sand, I would say that the thing for me is that every lesson, however uncomfortable it has been, we should act on it. So my question there, beautiful Grays, is let's think about what could you mitigate, what could you create that mitigates this lull when people aren't buying dressing up clothes. And I think we should all ask ourselves that same question. What is that uncomfortable question that needs answering? And that I'm not just going to rely on normality coming back for me to be sort of safe, for me to not have to deal with that. I've got another question here. Right, it's actually about self-confidence and self-belief, and I think that's one of the things that I think that's one of the things that we are consistently not believing in. You know, I think that we did some IGTVs with Coach Kate that are great for you to go back and look at. It's all about resilience. And I want you to start to explore some of those things. Again, this journey, do not underestimate that this journey is like being in a constant school class. And if you don't feel like that, then you're missing an opportunity. Every single moment of your entrepreneurial journey, you should be learning. And so I want you to go back and explore some of these things. If your confidence has been knocked, I want you to start talking about resilience. If you haven't ever worked the muscle of resilience, I want you to start to do that. And I think that, you know, there's so many things that we feel. We never feel clever enough. We never sort of work up that nerve. We can misunderstand things, or we think that we misunderstand things. And I want us to start to work that up. We have got now one more guest coming on. We've got the founder of JJ Illustrates joining us, and we've got the final question here coming up. And it's something that I just love. I love. Yeah, it's well, I'm going to actually not story still. I'm going to let her tell us about her business. Oh, she's just gone. Hang on a second. Let me just do this. Oh, she's just gone. Here we are. I'm just sending a request. I was going to story steal from what she actually does, but I'm going to let her tell us all. Oh, she's not come on again. Hang on a minute. We're getting you on. I'm sending a request to you. And are you, here we are. I'm just going to do it one more time. I'm sending a request. And if you can join now, it would be fantastic. Or go on, you can do it. I'm sure you might just be tapping the wrong thing, but we're going to get you. You're here. I'm here. Oh, yes, but I can't see you on my side. Are you saying, let me just, is unable to join, it says. Oh, dear. That's annoying. That's annoying. Let me just try one more time, and then I'm going to, I know what you wanted to ask me, so I'm going to try and answer it for you. No, right, it's not coming up. I don't know why that has not come up. That's just incredibly annoying. Your question to me, though, was bravery in business, the art of saying no, and how to know when to back yourself. I mean, this is a big question, by the way, and congratulations for actually asking this. How do you say a no effectively, right? How do you say no? No is such a powerful word. And I think that one of the things that you need to do, and actually Sophie, my business partner at Not on the High Street, used to say this. I used to say no, but I would give so many reasons that were actually really the truth and all the details, that basically it meant that the person then had the opportunity of undoing my no. And because I was just so on the brink, they normally did undo my no very, very quickly. So you've got to make sure you say no with an inability to undo your no. Okay, do you get what I'm saying? Give me some, just tell me you understand what I mean. So I would love for you to be very clear that you are unable to do something. I want you to be assertive, but I would love you to be courteous at the same time. I'd love you to be very honest. Do not make up some cock and bull story. Do not get into too much detail because they can undo your no. And I would love you to know that people will try and undo your no. So just know that. How many no's do I want to say? So I'd love you to just look at being as honest as you can, giving a simple reason and being very assertive with that no. And that should help you. Remember to not allow people to undo your no by giving them too much information, and by being on the brink that basically they know if they just push you, you're going to say yes. And when to back yourself, this is an interesting one. When to back yourself. Absolutely frigging always back yourself. Absolutely back yourself. You know, if you can't do it, you will learn it. It's what I've been saying about the imposter syndrome. Please, please back yourself. You know, you're going to learn quickly. You're going to be able to take criticism, hopefully. I would love you to just know that you have to back yourself. You have to believe in yourself. If I think to the podcast, one of the golden threads through the 100 interviews is that they believed in what they were doing. Asma Khan believed in her kitchen. Henry Dimbleby believed in Leon. Julie Dean, she believed in Cambridge Satchel Company. No one else did. They got a team together, absolutely, but they were the driving force in their belief. If Julie didn't believe in the Cambridge Satchel Company, it wouldn't exist today. So that is on you. That's on your shoulders. And that is why it is so important that you are your #1 fan. And it is so, so important. A few comments coming in. Bluebell lettering, so needed this today. Gosh, I feel actually that I've been a bit tongue-tied. You know why? It's quite hard answering questions live, just like that. And I hope I've been able to give you some knowledge today, some things that will help you on your way. Me and Millie, I'm taking notes like I did at school. Well, there you go. They were right there, me and Millie, because you know what? We are at school. We're at business school. Every day that we conduct our business, it is exactly like that. We are learning. Don't let anything go by without you learning from it. Don't let any experience, any interaction, you are constantly learning. And if you don't feel like that, you're missing a trick. This is where innovations happen. It's where opportunity happens, is when you are actually observing what's going on every day and saying, what did I learn today? What is the takeaway today that I will never forget and that I've built another brick in my business? Green Eye Gallery, don't put the word no with sorry. Put it with suggest. No, but can I suggest? That is such a great suggestion. Bat away that no with something helpful, you know, and actually it could be that you would say, Holly, could you help me with X, Y, and Z? And I might not have time. So maybe my thing is, no, I really can't. But do you know what? Julie Dean from Cambridge Satchel Company, she talks about building her logo in 10 minutes. Can I just ask you just to go and listen to that? That was such Green Eye Gallery. What a great suggestion. No, but not no with a sorry. Birdhouse Tea Company, re-listening to Julie's podcast just today and cried at the end when she read the letter to her younger self. Amazing. She's unbelievable. She absolutely is unbelievable. My goodness, I could answer all your questions. We've caught all your questions. For anyone who I have answered a question, I will be getting you your prescription over to you today. Thank you so much, Dell, for letting me do this. I try and give it my all, and this community, you bring so much to this conversation, and I loved seeing how much you've all connected. You're all helping each other, and it's just been incredible to see. And you know, ultimately, you know, and I'll talk about this until the cows come home, businesses like Dell are helping Holly&Co, helping this community. Why? They truly believe. The people that I work with truly believe in this community. And that is why I'm going to be doing this business pharmacy at 12 o'clock every Wednesday for the whole of this year, so that we can get together and really tackle those questions you should be answering. Last tip from me, just remind yourself, if you're going to ask a question, which I think you should continuously, make sure that you remind yourself of those 3 things that every single question should have. Is it that you want to acquire knowledge? Is it that you want to eliminate confusion? Or is it that you have a business problem that needs solving? And be specific in your questions, because the likelihood is you're going to get some specific advice back far easier than being open-ended with just a slot in someone's diary. Really hope that helps. Thank you, Dell, again. Thank you, community, again. You've been awesome. We're going to capture those questions and get back to you. I will see you next Wednesday at 12 o'clock for Business Pharmacy. But for now, it's Dr. Tucker is off.